Hello everyone. I guess I'm online for whatever reason. StreamYard decided not to start live stream with that freaking countdown. Okay, it's okay. So thank you all, the friends, for joining this live stream. Today is 6th of November. Now it's 11:05 in the morning Moscow time, and hopefully there gonna be no more technical issues. Otherwise, I might just take this notebook and just break in half right now. I'm kind of sick and tired of this constant technical issues. I have prepared quite a number of news for you this morning, and if you like the news segment, dear friends, please like the video, leave some commentary, and if you want to support, that will be great too. Under this video, in description box, there is links to the platforms that you can use for support. That's being said, let's start the news update now itself. And first news, as quite often it is the case, a report about work of Russian air defense systems. Past night, RIA Novosti reports, based on Russian Defense Ministry's latest update, that over the course of past night, air defense systems intercepted and destroyed 75 Ukrainian fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles, drones basically, 49 over the Volgograd region, 7 drones over the Republic of Crimea, 6 over Voronezh region, 4 over the Rostov region, 3 over the Belgorod, 2 over the Oryol region, and 1 drone each was destroyed over the Moscow region, over the Moscow even, by the way. It did not said a region. No. Over the Moscow region, yeah, that's correct. Kursk, Lipetsk, and Tambov regions. I was a bit surprised at one point. They are just counting right over the Moscow, Kursk, Lipetsk, Tambov regions. And okay, it's quite confusing. Can be confusing. Because usually drones are not reaching Moscow. There are numerous attempts by Kyiv regime and its Western backers to strike Moscow. But drones very rarely reaching capital of Russia. There were some cases, probably you remember, there were some cases when drones reached Moscow in 2022, that was, isn't it, or 2023, when Kyiv regime with the assistance of NATO even managed to strike Kremlin, right, with a drone or two. But since then, it is very rare. And there was a couple of strikes on Moscow city area, some other places, but in general, air defense systems are intercepting all incoming drones in the Moscow region before drones reach Russian capital. So 75 drones were intercepted. RT is also reporting that Kyiv regime to lose key city within 1 week, according to Russian military commander. As you know, dear friends, nowadays there are significant grouping of forces of Kyiv regime that are encircled in Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration area and also in Kupiansk direction. Pokrovsk-Mirnograd is, of course, DPR, Donetsk People's Republic. Kupiansk is Kharkov region. And in this particular case, this report is about Kupiansk. So Russian troops expect to fully liberate the city of Kupiansk in the Kharkov region within the coming week, according to the commander of the assault unit involved in the operation. Kyiv has continued to deny the gravity of their situation on the ground, and Kyiv not just denies, by the way, situation in Kupiansk or Pokrovsk-Mirnograd, but Zelensky, as I mentioned yesterday, went on air publicly to say that it's only like 60 Russian troops in Pokrovsk, and they will force them out in a matter of hours. That's how delusional that creature actually is, right? That whore of globalists, basically, right? And this is Kupiansk, by the way, a city which is most of which is under Russian control, and there are some pockets of resistance of Kyiv regime's troops. And according to Russian stormtroopers commander, it's a matter of week, and Kupiansk will be fully liberated, and that forces Kyiv regime's encircled troops to make most important choice of their lives. Either they will die in Kupiansk for Zelensky and his Western masters and their geopolitical agenda, or they will contact Russian troops and surrender. And quite a number of troops already did make that right choice to contact Russian troops and surrender, not just in Kupiansk area, but also in Pokrovsk, Mirnograd. And this morning I did saw a video of that, by the way, another video, when one unit of Kiev regime's forces contacted Russian troops and organized surrender. And I saw interviews when those Kiev regime's forces interviewed, and they were saying that they had no communication, they had no supplies, there was no rotations for the last more than 2 months, right? Command basically abandoned them, and they did not know what to do, and they just decided to surrender. And they also said that there is a numerous number of 300s, which is a wounded military personnel in Pokrovsk, Mirnograd area, that are hoping to survive, right? But in order to get some medical assistance, well, their commanders have to contact Russian troops and organize safe surrender, at least safe transfer of wounded military personnel, right? But yet again, seems like Kiev regime is determined to sacrifice literally everybody in Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, and Kupiansk direction, because yesterday evening, number of media outlets reported that Zelensky basically ordered all his troops in these directions to stay there until the last person, right? And well, many of them probably will do exactly that, right? For whatever reason, I don't even care, by the way, what is the motivation of those Kiev regime's troops to die for Zelensky and their Western geopolitical agenda. I simply don't care, man. Let's fucking kill them all, man. That's it. If some of them want to save their lives, if they don't want to be tool in hands of globalists, they can contact Russian troops, organize surrender. Otherwise, why should they care, man? Let's fucking kill them all. That's it, right? And that's exactly what is going to happen to most of them. Enemy is enemy, man. Brainwashed our brothers and sisters or not, but we have to take them out, man. That's it. They are our enemies right now, and we're gonna treat them as such, right? After war ends, let's then have discussions how they've been brainwashed and what happened, right? But right now they are enemies of Russia, enemies of Russian people, even if they themselves are Russians, right? But brainwashed ones, and they have to be treated as enemies. Period. No mercy towards the enemies, man. Absolutely. Let's fucking kill them all. Also, United Aircraft Corporation transferred another batch of frontline Su-34 bombers to Russian aerospace forces. Great news for Russian militaries, of course. Su-34s definitely proved themselves to be very capable planes, especially when it comes to close air support. All these FAB strikes, almost all of it, by the way, is done by this workhorse of Russian frontline aviation that Su-34s are. So definitely, in shorter, these planes and crews of these planes will probably begin supporting Russian ground forces on the battlefield with all sorts of sorties, with their FAB, glide munitions, with their guided or other guided weapon systems, whatever. Everything helps, right? Meanwhile, enemies of Russia in Europe and enemies of everything Russian and enemies of all Russian people, and that's what Western elites are, by the way, let's be clear on that. They continue to push these false narratives about Russian drones all over Europe. Belgium is no exception, by the way, and the defense minister of that quasi-state, Theo Frankin, who literally a few days ago was threatening to wipe out Moscow from the map, he is now calling for a NATO summit under the bloc's Article 4, and the reasoning is alleged drones, Russian drones, that were being spotted over there, some airports in Belgium. Okay, let them have a talk about some some drones. Let them invoke Article 5, by the way. I can't wait until one of those NATO countries will revoke Article 5, right? And when they will openly declare war on us, so that Russian president will have no more options to continue no more reasons whatsoever to continue this freaking restraint policy. And hopefully mobilization, full-scale mobilization will be called. I am ready to go first, by the way, right? If no medical issues, I probably would be on the front line anyways, right? But during the mobilization, I guess checkup on medical stuff is not that demanding, so I will pass it, I guess. And so yes, let's do freaking mobilization and take these motherfuckers out, man. That's all I want to say. I'm sick and tired of this nonsense. Is sound back? I Okay. My apologies, dear friends. Maybe I should end this live stream right now and just stop working on this project, man. I'm just too freaking tired of this nonsense. Ah, fuck. Sorry, dear friends, but yeah, I'm a human too. I have nerves, and yeah. Okay. Where I was. Let's continue. Let's continue with this craziness that is happening in this world, right? So yes, Article 4 is being invoked by Belgium. They're gonna have a meeting, and we're gonna hear more threats from these nobodies, right? Literally nobodies, fucking animals, man. I'm talking about Western elites. And if anybody don't likes that I'm calling them animals, they're creatures, and they're a dirty human scum, then you know what? There is plenty of other channels. They are very polite. I mean, look, CNN, man. They're not gonna say no, nothing like that, right? Especially about Western elites. So I recommend for those people CNN. Okay. RIA Novosti is reporting that the Russian embassy, nevertheless, even though everyone understands that this is freaking nonsense, what Belgium is now pushing, Russian embassy, for whatever reason, commented on that, and let me give you some details. So Russia has no connection to the drones flight over the military bases in Belgium, a topic that has been the subject of much speculations. The Russian embassy press service reported earlier on Wednesday, VRT, citing a source, claimed that Belgium security services accused Russia of orchestrating drone flights over the country's military bases and airports. And we have a quote here. As far as we know, the Belgium authorities have not made any direct accusations against Russia. They are mainly highly likely assumptions. So we declare with the full responsibility that Russian Federation has no connection with whatsoever with the overflights of unmanned aerial vehicles in the Belgium airspace. We have neither reasons nor interest in this. The diplomatic mission of the Russian Federation was quoted by this VRT TV channel. And why, man? Why you are commenting? And fuck him all, man. Let them be hysterical and then say all this creepy stuff. Or you know what? Even better if we actually send the drones, man. Let's send a couple of missiles to Belgium, right? Couple of drones. They are hysterical anyway, so let's give them a reason at least, right? We all understand they're going to use all these false flag operations to bring more military equipment, more infrastructure closer to Russian borders, right? We all know this. So why we are playing these freaking games, man? Let launch freaking missiles, man. Launch Oreshnik. Obliterate fucking capital of Belgium, man. Let's give them a reason to hate us. They hate us anyways. So let's fucking give them a reason, man. So yes, Russian embassy said that we have nothing to do with it. Great. Meanwhile, on November 19th, the European Commission plans to present a military Schengen project for the rapid transfer of troops, military equipment, and cargo within the European Union. Yet another step by NATO, by Russian enemies, basically, to prepare ground for possible large-scale military confrontation, open, direct confrontation with the Russian Federation. They are building legislation that will allow troops from all over Europe to move freely on a territory of different NATO EU member states, right? We understand this. NATO is preparing for a war. Hopefully, we are preparing for a war too. And you know what? I said many times before, horrible end is always better than unending horror. So let's go for it, man. They want war, clearly, right? And we can give them that. We can teach them a lesson, and let's see, man, who will come up on the top, right? I think we as a society, not just here in Russia, but on post-Soviet area, are tougher, just simply tougher because we had a tougher life, right? And life make us this way. Right, we are just simply much more tougher than Western societies that, with rare exceptions, did not really face any significant issues in the life. Right, for past 4, 5, 6 decades, they had a quite chill life. Right, and as one say goes, hard times create tough people. Tough people create easy life creates weak people, right? And the Western world is full of weak people. Western societies are weak, by the way. Look what is happening there. Significant portion of Western citizens are confused even about their freaking gender, man. So, I mean, what the hell? They want to war, clearly, isn't it? So let's do this. Let's do this, man. Let's teach them a lesson. I'm all for that, man, because why not? Why not? My ancestors participate in all the wars that West was engaged against Russia, and I have no issue, by the way, to also be engaged in such a war. Clearly, And if it comes to mobilization, let's start from me, man. I can do something on the line of contact, even if I have no military freaking experience, man. I can take on freaking 10 Belgian militaries, and I will fucking kill them all, man, with bare hands. I have no doubts about it, really. Readiness, meanwhile, is reporting that Poland is negotiating the imports of US LNG for Kyiv regime for so-called Ukraine. Great news. Poland is negotiating the import of liquefied natural gas, LNG, from United States for delivery to Slovakia and Ukraine. Reuters report, citing sources, Poland is working on a deal to import liquefied natural gas from the United States to supply Ukraine and Slovakia, a deal that would further strengthen the EU's ties with the American energy sector, the agency said in a statement, citing two people familiar with the negotiations. Of course, this deal will strengthen position of Poland also as a sort of energy hub. They had a dream about for quite a while now, and they are getting closer and closer to fulfill that dream. According to one of their agency sources, officials expect a joint declaration on increasing imports to be announced after the parties meet at the Transatlantic Energy Conference in Athens later this week. The source noted that discussions on the terms of supplies to Slovakia will then begin. So good news, I will say. Let more and more European economies be completely dependent on US quite expensive LNG, by the way. That will make European economies less competitive and NATO is weaker, right? And because European elites, European people, majority of them at least, choose to be our enemies, then, why should we care, man? Why should we care? They are enemies, so, whatever is harmful for them is good for Russia. So therefore, go ahead, Poland. Go ahead, Poland. And all the other countries, by the way, bring more freaking LNG from US, by the way, pay double, triple of price that you will pay for Russian pipeline gas. It's a good, by the way, right? You might become free from Russian energy, but for God's sake, man, you are destroying your own economies by doing so, and it is great. It's good, by the way, good stuff. I said for a reason that in 20, 30 years, European part of Eurasian continent gonna be loosely relevant or completely irrelevant, and forgotten by everybody place in this world, right? Dark freaking place that no one cares about. That's the fate and the destiny of the Europe, right? And possibly US too, if American people would not wake up in very short time and will actually reclaim their own state. They still have a chance, but Europeans, no longer, man. Europe is doomed. RIA Novosti is also reporting that EU preparing to stop issuing visas to Russian citizens, according to media reports. Okay. European Union may stop issuing multiple entry Schengen visas to Russians this week, a political report citing unnamed European officials. The EU is preparing, and this is quote, to further tighten visa rules for Russian citizens, effectively ending the issuance of multiple entry permits to the Schengen zone in most cases, the publication said. And okay, by the way, I mean, I would not recommend Moscow to retaliate in the same manner. There are many great, decent people, by the way, all over Europe. Maybe they are a tiny minority, but nevertheless, these are great people that never wanted their countries, their societies to be this hostile towards Russia. They never wanted their countries, their societies to be full of hatred of Russia and everything Russian. And therefore they have truly nothing to do with this whole freaking nonsense that West is coming up right now. Bloody escalation, basically, that West is engaged against Russia. So therefore, those people should always have opportunity if they want to come to Russia, right? And maybe even migrate to Russia. So hopefully, Moscow will, of course, most likely condemn this decision of Europe, because building up barriers for people to communicate is never good stuff, right? So it needs to be condemned, this policy of the EU. But on the other hand, hopefully Moscow will go other way and will make it easier even for those decent Europeans that I just spoke about to travel to Russia whenever they want, right? It does make all the sense in my personal opinion, right? So yes, sooner Russian citizens probably be completely or almost completely cut off from possibility to travel in Europe as a tourist or for business trip or whatever. Okay, by the way, what can I say, man? We are engaged in a war right now, right? West is waging proxy war against us. So therefore, I don't even understand why would anybody travel to Europe and compromise his or her life and security, right? Because all the Russians potentially are targets for Western secret services, right? And those people that are going into Western countries probably don't even think that they might be trapped, right? By Western secret services, and also they don't think about how much more job they are creating for Russian counterintelligence service, because all these people, because there is a high risk that Russian citizens will be traced, and whenever opportunity comes around, they're trapped and recruited potentially forcefully or whatever by Western secret services. Then Russian counterintelligence have to take care of that issue, right? And that takes time, by the way. That takes a lot of resources to make sure that those people that coming back have not become assets of their Western secret services. And then you have to do all these checkups and stuff, by the way, without being even seen, right? Which is, yet again, takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of time, resources. So therefore, those people, those citizens of Russia, man, should think better before they will go into a hostile country, and before they will jeopardize their own security, security of their family members, and the security of Russia itself. It's not a freaking quantum physics, right? It's quite easy stuff to understand, but seems like not for everybody. Anyways, and when it comes to Europe and decline of Europe, by the way, I mean, there is so many examples, isn't it? Yesterday I saw a clip. I think it was an original clip, not an AI, by the way, when during the recent conversation between Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, Elon Musk said that it was in Germany, I think, a woman was sentenced to more time in jail than a person that raped her. And you know why? This person who raped her was a refugee or something like that. And you know why this female was sentenced to jail? I mean, it's insane, man. Because she said something about culture of that group that her rapist was belonging to. Maybe she was emotional, and she was not politically correct in her comment about it after she get raped. But for God's sake, to send her in a jail for that, for more time than a rapist gets, I mean, Europe is finished, man. Europe is finished. European societies are finished. That's it. There is nothing to add there, right? So there is plenty of examples of total insanity and madness that is happening in the Western world in general, in Europe, for example, in particular, and on those topic exactly, on the decline of Europe. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I did share a video of a journalist, Italian journalist, Gabriele Naunziati, who basically asked the representative of EU a simple question, which was that, and I show you a video, by the way, which was that, well, EU is demanding from Russia money to rebuild whatever was damaged on the Kiev-controlled territory or whatever, right? And does EU has similar take in regards to Israel, so that Israel will pay for everything, to rebuild everything that was destroyed by Israeli forces in Gaza Strip? And this journalist didn't receive no answer, by the way. But you know what happened? He was fired. He was fired, man, by the media outlet that he was representing. That's the Europe for you. That's the Europe, by the way, right? And let me show you that short clip when this journalist was asking, like, just question, man. Unbelievable, man. And those are disgrace of humanity that Western elites are there to threaten Russia day in, day out, man, instead of actually working for their own people, right, and taking care of so many issues that Europe is facing. But yet again, it's up to people of Europe. If they are happy with the current situation, then okay, man. We, rest of the world, can just like watch the developments there with their amusement or something, like, what the hell? But ultimately, it's up to people of Europe, of course, to deal with whatever issues they're facing, including with their so-called elites. And this is the video, by the way, that I'm talking about. Just look.
Several times that Russia should repay for the reconstruction of Ukraine. Do you believe Israel should repay for the reconstruction of Gaza, since they have destroyed almost all the strip and the civilian infrastructures? Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriele. It's definitely an interesting question on which I would not have any comment at this stage.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. That's what is happening. And this person, this Italian journalist, was fired. So, I mean, I rest my case, man. Europe is doomed. It is what it is, man. Europe is just freaking doomed, man. And I'm not sure majority of society in Europe even understands this, man. Minority, informed minority definitely does, man. And they are trying. And members of our community from Europe are part of this informed minority, but they're barely influencing anything, man, because their numbers are small. Vast majority is freaking brainwashed and zombified, and they're, that's how it is. And that allows the so-called elites in Europe to do whatever experiments they want to do on their public or on everybody else, right? Experiments in social engineering, in you name it, right? Nothing to be said about how much money they are stealing from taxpayers there. But anyways, let me continue. Hopefully they're gonna be no more technical freaking issues here. Otherwise I might freaking explode. So let's continue. Where was there? And well, Trump of course is a big headline maker, and RT is reporting that Trump reiterates nuclear tester threat in AI generated video. I don't know who told the Trump that it's a good idea to make AI generated video of himself when he's basically saying all the stuff that Trump is tweeting or Trump is posting on his True Social. I'm not even sure this is legal, right? Because it's a fake video. Maybe Trump himself is posting that stuff, but it's a still fake video, by the way, right? And if someone else uses AI of Trump, AI image of Trump, that could be issue. So why Trump is allowed then to post these fake videos, right? But he does. I mean, I have to show you, by the way. I have to show you what am I talking about. Maybe you did not see these videos, but he began posting these AI-generated videos. When I saw first time, I was thinking, I mean, this cannot be Trump, man. It looks like Trump, but he's like a little more sharp than he is usually, right? Just a bit, but nevertheless, it's noticeable. So look, let's see this one, for example.
America has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office, where I rebuilt the military. Because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it having to do with nuclear weapons, but I really had no choice. Russia is second in line, and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Because of other countries' testing programs, I've instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
So Trump himself, as you can see, dear friends, posted this fake video of himself. And you can notice straight away, isn't it, that something is not quite right there. Because usually Trump is reading teleprompter, isn't it? He goes left and right with his header, tries to read some stuff. Whenever he has some issues to read it, he goes off and says some even more crazy stuff than he reads from a teleprompter. And here he looks straight. And that's a first hint that I mean, this cannot be true, right? So yes, he is sharing this AI videos now. This narcissistic guy, man, is something else, isn't it? So yeah, he spoke about this freaking nuclear tests, reiterated his earlier threat. And you know what? Words have meaning, right? Words do have a meaning, and Russia reacted on these statements of Trump. And for example, yesterday, Belousov, defense minister of Russian Federation, proposed to begin preparations for a resumption of the nuclear tests. You know, maybe Trump said make statements about nuclear testing because he was misunderstood what he was briefed about and he was briefed most likely about successful tests of Russian nuclear powered cruise missile Burevestnik and their underwater autonomous vehicle Poseidon. And probably Trump misinterpreted this as some sort of a nuclear test, and he went to say that, well, US gonna do nuclear tests. He's not backing down. He's not acknowledging that he was misunderstood, and therefore, if no one else is doing these tests, US will not do either. No, he continues to push this freaking crazy narrative, right? And therefore, of course, Russia has to respond on that, and this is response. Defense Minister Andrei Belousov called it appropriate to begin preparations for the resumption of the nuclear testing on Novaya Zemlya. Novaya Zemlya is a Russian nuclear test polygon. And by the way, when Trump says anything, you always have doubts, isn't it? Does he mean that? Does he not? Is he serious or not? Or will he change tomorrow his mind? Well, Russian officials say something. Usually that's exactly what they are working on, right? So when Belousov says, let's begin preparations for resumption of the nuclear testing, that means these preparations have started already. So Russia is preparing now for actual nuclear tests to take place, right? And we have quotes here. I believe it would be appropriate to begin preparations for a full-scale nuclear testing immediately, he said at the meeting that President Vladimir Putin held with the permanent members of the Security Council. The minister noted that the United States conducted their global tender 2025 exercises in October, which involved practicing preemptive nuclear strike against Russia. He believes Washington's actions clearly demonstrate that it is actively building up its strategic offensive weapons, but also believes that Washington's possible abandonment of the nuclear testing moratorium could be a step towards undermining global strategical stability. And also, Bill also made a number of other statements. For example, United States of America aggressively accelerating the modernization of its strategical offensive weapons. He said that U.S. decision to resume nuclear testing would be a logical continuation of Washington's ongoing dismantling of a global arms control system, which is logical, which is true, by the way, right? Dark Eagle missile in Europe. On this matter, Bill also said U.S. plans to deploy its new Dark Eagle hypersonic missile in Europe, weapons capable of reaching central Russia in just 6 to 7 minutes, which is a big threat. Although, let's see how successful in development of this Dark Eagle missile U.S. is going to be. But threat is real. I mean, it's a hypersonic missile system, theoretically, at least. It will take for that missile only a couple of minutes to reach deep into Russian territory. And even though Russia has most advanced air defense systems in the world, by the way, deployment of this type of weapon systems close to Russia is, of course, something that we have to react on. And maybe that's why, maybe that's why one of the Russian high-ranking MPs, by the way, yesterday or day before stated that maybe Russia will transfer Oreshnik missile systems to Venezuela. When I read it, I did not really believe in this report. Oreshniks in Venezuela, I mean, I don't know. I couldn't believe that, especially if you take in account this constant attempt of Moscow to reach some to find some common ground with the U.S. administration. But seems like Russian president is also sick and tired of insane behavior of the Trump and his team, right? Because tune is shifting. Tune is clearly shifting, right? And Belosov's criticism of U.S. actions can be seen as an indicator that, well, Moscow had enough, kind of, right? Maybe my interpretation is wrong. Could be the case, but until now, we rarely see any more or less tough criticism of U.S. administration, right? From at least after Trump's inauguration, from Russian leadership. Now, clearly there is a criticism there, isn't it, of U.S. On the topic of preparation for a nuclear test, Belosov argued that Russia should begin immediate preparations for full-scale nuclear tests in response to U.S. actions. And when it comes to Novaya Zemlya nuclear test site, he noted that the polygon basically is fully capable of supporting such an operation in a short notice. So, okay, by the way, okay, maybe Moscow will prepare everything for tests, and once US will go ahead with its subcritical or full-scale nuclear test, Russia will resume nuclear tests also. I don't think Russia will go ahead with the nuclear test before US does some crazy stuff, right? But based on Trump's statements, based on statements of Energy Secretary of US, while commenting on these nuclear tests and so on, it seems absolutely inevitable that US will soon go ahead with their nuclear tests. Russian president responded to Belosov, and we have reannounced this report here with the headline that Putin ordered preparations for nuclear tests in response to US exercises. So Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed their response to American nuclear exercises with their permanent members of the Security Council. As Defense Minister Andrei Belosov reported, the United States conducted exercises in October, rehearsing a preemptive nuclear missile strike against Russia. Furthermore, Washington plans to, and remember, by the way, this happened just now in October, right? And what you hear from Trump constantly, that he is a president of peace, and he solved these many wars, and I mean, all fake, by the way. He didn't solve no faking wars, right? Not even a single one, right? Not even a single one. If he means, one might argue that, well, skirmishes between Thailand and Cambodia was, U.S. kind of solved it, but you know what? U.S. started it. U.S. ordered their beaches in a Cambodian government to start the skirmishes with their Thailand. They did it, and then Trump started playing and messing around that it's him that stopped the war. This was not a war. This was a borderline skirmishes. There is a significant difference between war and skirmishes, right, on the border. Anyways, in October, U.S. was exercising preemptive nuclear strike on Russia. But does it look like actions that a true peacemaker president would authorize? No, because it is obvious that Russia would respond, right? If Russia conducted such exercises with their imitation of large-scale nuclear strikes on U.S., U.S. will say, you know what? I mean, you are talking, you are kind of, looking for some agreements, and you seems like want to find common ground. And why you are exercising your troops to strike us with the freaking nukes, man? That's what Washington would say to Russia, isn't it? If we did something like that. But we did not. The U.S. did go ahead and exercised in nuclear strikes on Russia just a few days ago, man, in October. Furthermore, Washington plans to deploy missiles in Europe and the Asia-Pacific region that would have a flight time of 6-7 minutes from Germany, for example, to central Russia. Putin called US President Donald Trump's statements about resuming nuclear testing a serious matter. He added that the Security Council had analyzed the statements made by US ruling circles. The president also stated that Moscow would be forced to take appropriate action if nuclear club parties decided to conduct nuclear tests. He also emphasized that Russia had no plans to withdraw from the treaty. Not too fast, though. Not too fast. At the same time, indeed, in my address to Federal Assembly in 2023, I stated that if the United States or other states party of the relevant treaty conduct such a test, then Russia too will be required to take appropriate retaliatory measures. In addition, the head of states ordered the collection of information to conduct of an analysis at the Security Council site and the submission of proposals for the possible commencement of work on preparing nuclear weapons test. And so, yes, Russian president basically green-lighted preparations for possible nuclear tests, but he did not say that we're going to go ahead and do nuclear tests 100%. No, although some media outlets misinterpreted his statements and said that Russia will conduct nuclear tests, Putin did not say this. And neither Beloso said that we will actually do nuclear tests. Now we are going to do it. No, they said we should consider preparations for nuclear testing, right? But yet again, speculations went wild, so much so that press spokesman of the Russian president was forced to clarify Putin's remarks in regards to these nuclear tests. Let me give you his words here, his statements. During a meeting with the members of Security Council, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered a study of the feasibility of a nuclear test rather than beginning direct preparations for them. This was emphasized by President's press secretary Dmitry Peskov in an interview with the TASS. And if you keep in mind that Beloso said that Novaya Zemlya nuclear test site is ready to, facilitate nuclear tests, in shortly after appropriate order, subsequent order, then, this statement of Peskov definitely makes sense. Russian side is just responding to Washington and saying, you know what, we don't want to do these freaking tests, and let's not do it. But if you will go ahead and do nuclear tests anyways, then, we're going to respond on that, right? That's the message, basically, that Moscow is sending. And yet again, Beloso was quite critical of actions of the U.S., anti-Russian and hostile actions of the U.S. And this might be indicator that Moscow's attitude, maybe Moscow's attitude is finally changing in regards to Trump and his insane administration. Hopefully this is the case, because if anybody in Kremlin still believes that they can find common ground with those psychopaths, then I don't know, man. I don't know. I have a moon out there to sell to Kremlin inhabitants. In that case, you cannot have no freaking agreement with Trump or his team. You just cannot, because they will never ever honor anything, right, that they will sign up for. So let's stop. Let's stop lying to ourselves, man. Yes, idea, and I can understand what Russian president was trying to do, man. Ideally, of course, it will be great for peoples of both countries, Russia and US, if we are, if not the strategical allies, then at least not their hostiles, right? At least if we will have a good working relationships, that will be so freaking beneficial for both. But this is just not happening, man. Unfortunately, yet again, idea is great, and that's why Putin and his team is this polite still towards Trump and his administration, despite all the hostile steps that they actually conducted. But everything that has a beginning has its end also, and hope is no exception, right? And if Russian president had a hope that he can reach some agreement with Trump, hopefully that hope is dead now, because he cannot reach no agreement with Trump, because anything that Trump will sign will mean nothing next day, literally next day, will mean absolutely nothing. It's just truth of the life, isn't it? That's how it is. So maybe Moscow had enough. Excuse me. I do have a few more news for you, dear friends. And for example, Trump, yet again, this big headline maker, probably one of the top headline makers in the world, went to basically just in 10 seconds highlight what U.S. foreign policy is. And I want to show you this short clip, because after that we will talk about hostile steps of US towards other countries. About Russia we already spoke, right? But that's not enough for them. They want to be hostile towards everybody. So let me show you this video when Trump is quite perfectly characterizing foreign policy of the US for past decades and decades and decades, right? So look.
Sometimes we don't fight to win. We'll stay around the country for 15 years, just bomb the hell out of everybody, make everybody miserable. Nobody knows why we're there, the wars that never end.
Yeah, that's the perfect description of what US foreign policy is and was for decades and decades and decades, right? They go into country, bomb the hell out of everything, right? Make people miserable, destroy their livelihoods, everything, right? And they go from that place to another place to make people miserable in that other place too. That's all US does, man. That's all Western world in general it does, right? That's what their foreign policy is, and Trump is partially correct when says no one understands why we are doing this or something like that, right? No, we do understand. Maybe some don't, but we do understand why US and Western world in general acts this way. Because war is a big money for them, right? War is a big money for military-industrial complex. War is one of the ways how Western world is competing with others in economical terms, right? If US is losing, for example, economical competition with China in Nigeria, let's say, well, you know what US is going to do? US is going to destabilize Nigeria. US is going to destabilize Nigeria so much so that if US would not be able to compete there with China, then China would not be able to do business there, right? No one would, because there will be chaos everywhere, right? That's what US does, brother. Just go ahead and check countries after countries after countries that US either bombed or imposed some sanctions and stuff like that. What was behind that? Actually care about human lives, human rights, and humanity? No, it's always money and influence, right? Always. And that's what they do. That's what they do. And at least Trump is admitting that, yes, they make life miserable for everybody in the countries that they attack. They are trying hard, by the way, for this to be the case. And therefore, no one should be surprised. No one actually should be surprised, either in US or in Europe, when millions of people from those very places that they destroy and where they make people miserable, when millions and millions of people from those places are moving towards Europe, exactly. and maybe in less numbers, but towards the US too, right? Because well, they need new home now, right? And they are moving in the countries where they think they can have this new home, and yeah. And then there is all sorts of issues, right, in those countries emerging, because these mass migrations are never go smoothly, right? Never, historically speaking, right? That's how it is. At least the Europeans should know that maybe they are not happy right now because of these tens of millions of legal or illegal migrants that refuse to integrate and stuff. I mean, not all of them refuse to integrate. Maybe most of them refuse, right, to integrate, and are creating some ethnic enclaves here and there, right? And already in big cities all over the Europe, by the way, there are districts, entire freaking districts, right, that are basically kind of ethnic minority enclaves, right? And yeah, there is a social fabric is stretched. Why these people, locals are complaining, why these people are coming here, why they are not integrating, why is this, why is that? These locals did ever had any issues when homeland of these very people were destroyed by their countries? I mean, did Germans complain when Germany and other NATO member states under leadership of US were killing, instigating civil war inside Syria, first of all, trying to do regime change, which killed hundreds of thousands of people and forced millions to become refugees? Did German people actually care about Syrian people at the time? No, they did not, right? Majority. So you know what? They will face consequences now of those very Syrians living in Germany, right? Those very Syrians whose country Germany destroyed together with other NATO member states. Same goes for UK, same goes for France, and for everyone else in the collective West. You pay price for all the crimes that you committed, people. That's how it is. And when you see crime being committed, and if you just stand by and do nothing, that's a crime too, in my personal opinion. Societies in Europe knew perfectly well that their governments were committing crimes against humanity, but they did not stop their governments, right? In many cases, they did not even try. In most of the cases, they did not even try. So let them face reality now. Let them face consequences. That's how it is. I may feel sorry, by the way, and I do feel sorry. Let's be real here. I do feel sorry for local communities all over the Europe that are losing their countries, actually, right? Because some of those European countries no longer freaking recognizable even. But same time, this is consequences, isn't it, of their inaction of their people of these countries when their governments were committing crimes. Simple as that, right? And there is also one more element, dear friends, when it comes to this migration, right, of people from countries that was destroyed by the West. One can understand that travel, let's say, from Syria to Europe is not going to be cheap, right? And you guessed which people have such money to pay smugglers or whomever to send them to organize their trip to Germany, for example, right? In that impoverished country, in any impoverished country, by the way, most decent people, most decent human beings are either killed first because they will try to stop madness and they're going to get killed there first, or are destroyed completely, right? Because decent people will not go and not rob nobody, right? Because they are decent and they have humanity. Decent people will not commit crime. And when economies collapse, when every country is dead quite effectively, as it happened in Syria as example, I'm talking Syria as an example. In Syria, for example, most decent people become most poor people, right? And those most poor people, I guess, with very, very rare exceptions, probably have no financial or material means to finance their trip to anywhere, by the way, not just to Europe, but to anywhere, right? Who has such a financial capabilities is a people that will go to their neighbor's house, kill them freaking all, take all belongings they have, sell it somewhere, right? Make some money, and they will pay for traffickers, right, to get to Europe. Worst of the worst, by the way, probably went to Europe. I'm not saying all of them are worst, man. No way. But significant part of those refugees, or whatever you're going to call them, probably are really those people that committed not just one and not just two crimes to be in a position to have funds, material capabilities to finance their trip to Europe, right? They did not fucking walk, isn't it, from Syria to Berlin, man. They did not walk. If they walk, okay, but they did not. And they are paying smugglers $5,000-$10,000, right? At least. And how are you going to get $10,000 in a war-torn country where there is no economy, there is no nothing, if you are not a freaking criminal? So I will argue that significant portion of these so-called migrants, refugees or illegals or whatever, are probably quite a worst representatives of the societies that they are coming from. You know, that will be my argument. Right? Anyways, by the way, let's continue with some other news. I see Scooby is commenting Levan is in quite a mood today. I mean, yeah, sometimes nerves get to you. There's freaking technical issues always, right? I'm in search of a job that will allow me to work on this project too. Like simultaneously, I have to somehow manage all this stuff, right? There's plenty of problems, by the way. I have my life too. I mean, it's not just you see me just for an hour on your screen, but I have a whole life here, right? So, you know, and last 2-3 months was quite difficult. After all, I was trying to get loan from bank recently for a reason, and I was denied, by the way, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so sometimes nerves might get to you, but nevertheless I'm trying, by the way, to be informative and in news segment and to be informative in my commentary too, right? You might agree with me or disagree, but I will always try to put some logic behind anything I say, if I'm not saying some crazy shit, by the way. Sometimes I do say some crazy stuff, right? Especially when I'm angry. So that not counts. When I say some crazy stuff, that's on emotions, based on emotions, that's we all do that kind of stuff time to time, isn't it? So yeah, that's how it is. Anyways, I still have some news, isn't it? I show you description from Trump about foreign policies of the US and Western world in general, right? And now let's talk about all the hostilities that US is engaged in against many countries. So yesterday I mentioned that United States is considering 3 options for to attack Venezuela, basically. First option, and let's go through these options once again, dear friends, in case some members of community that are online now did not see yesterday's video. The first option involves airstrikes on military targets with the aim of depriving Maduro of military support. Second approach involves Washington sending special forces such as the Army Delta Force or Navy SEALs Team 6 to capture or kill Maduro. Third option involves sending U.S. counterterrorism forces to establish control over their airfields and at least a part of Venezuela's oil fields and infrastructure. I mean, oil fields are so connected, by the way, with the drugs, isn't it? I mean, oil fields, I mean, those drugs are made right on the oil fields. And that's why U.S. militaries have to go there, right? Because this is formally, this is counter-narcotics operation, isn't it? That the U.S. is engaged in. I mean, this is just too freaking crazy, man. So already media is reporting about number of options that U.S. might choose to go ahead with military action against Venezuela. All this talk about drugs and stuff is BS. Obviously, Venezuela, U.S. From all the drugs that goes to U.S., by the way, only like up to maximum 3% has some connection, if or direct or indirect, with Venezuela. Right, so drugs clearly not an issue. This is not the actual reason why Trump is escalating with Venezuela. But this country is filthy rich with their oil reserves, number one actually in that regard. It has freaking everything, man, everything. From rare earth to all sorts of other minerals, timber. I mean, there's quite a lot to be taken from the Venezuela and Venezuelan people by U.S. corporations, right? And that's what they want. That's what they want, man. They will take everything they can take. And they will do drugs too. They will do drug business like there is no tomorrow, man, as they did in Afghanistan, right? When they went in Afghanistan and overthrow Talib government, their cultivation of opium poppy skyrocketed. And where those opium was going, or heroin, by the way, that is made from opium, and how those drugs were leaving US, maybe through transport aircraft of Pentagon and other countries from US coalition that was engaged there in the war against Afghanistan. Yeah, that was the case, right? CIA and Pentagon was basically operating with the drugs there, right? Once US ran away, US and its allies ran away from Afghanistan, you know what happened with the cultivation of opium poppy? Dropped by 95 to 97, even higher percentage. There is no opium freaking poppies in Afghanistan now, right? It dropped on unbelievably 95+%. So US is a number one drug dealer, by the way, in this world, right? US elites, CIA, Pentagon, you name it. So yeah, they will do drugs too in Venezuela, but and poison Americans, ordinary Americans, no doubts there. But main reason why they want to recolonize Venezuela is, of course, oil and other materials that Venezuela can offer. RIA Novosti, although reporting that it's not just Venezuela, by the way. U.S. is threatening, of course, Cuba, already threats made, by the way, towards Cuba openly. U.S. is threatening Colombia, U.S. is threatening Brazil, just about everybody in Latin America, by the way. U.S. is threatening just about everybody in Latin America that dare to say to no to any orders from the Washington, right? But this is not enough for U.S. They are going after Nigeria too. And this time around, their reasoning is protection of the Christians. Easy for Trump or anybody in his administration are Christians or care about Christians. There are no freaking Christians there. They are freaking Satanists, man. All of them are Zionists. Zionists means Satanists, by the way. That's what they are. There are no Christians in U.S. administration. Let's be real on that too, right? Anybody that says he's a Christian Zionist is a freaking liar. Zionist means Satanist, so Satanist cannot be Christian, period. It's a simple calculation there, right? So formal reason to escalate with Nigeria, which is also rich, by coincidence, also rich with all sorts of minerals, by the way, including oil, right? And many other stuff. So Trump went to criticize Nigeria for attacks on Christian communities that actually do happen. Unfortunately, Christian communities, I will say, are not as protected in Nigeria as they should be, right? But there's no way I'm going to blame government of Nigeria that they are instigating these attacks on Christians, by the way. I don't think so. I really don't. Extremists, radical Islamist groups are killing not just Christians, but also Muslims, by the way. They are killing Nigerian militaries and police officers that are Muslim too, right? But as a fact, yes, Christian minority in Nigeria is in danger, right? But I don't think US is actually engaged with Nigeria to protect Christians, by the way. Otherwise, I mean, come on, man. US is threatening so many Christian countries, and because of US, so many Christians died, right? US is leading the charge against the war, against Russia in this proxy war that West is waging against us, right? Majority of us, by the way, are Christians, right? Majority. Although we have, for Russia, there is a traditional religions, right? For Russian Federation, that is Christianity, of course, Islam, Buddhism, and Judaism. That's traditional religions here in Russia. Majority of citizens are Christians, right? Orthodox Christians, although there is a Catholic community too, and so on. So why US is engaged, leading the charge against Russia, by the way, if Trump cares so much about Christians? Why? I mean, does he really cares about Christians? Why he is planning to attack Venezuela and kill God knows how many people there? Are Venezuelan people majority not Christian? No, they are Christian. So this is all BS, by the way, what Trump and US administration is talking about. But they are threatening. They are threatening, and first of all, because, as I said, man, if US loses, US and West in general, if they are losing competition to some other party, what they do usually is they destroy that place. If they cannot beat competitor in this country or that country, they will try to destroy that country, and they want to destroy Nigeria. US is after Nigeria, by the way. They want to destroy it. They want to create chaos all over the Central Africa. Just about everywhere, well, all over the African continent, because US already lost Africa, this war of influence with China in Africa. US already lost this fight, right? And the West in general. They lost it. They cannot face the reality, and they are now all about destabilizing whole African continent, by the way, from South Africa to North Africa, all of it, right? That's what they do. But the NBC is reporting that US is considering drone strikes on Nigeria. The Trump administration is considering drone strikes against Nigeria. NBC reports, citing unnamed American officials. It is unclear what the administration will do to combat Islamic militants in Nigeria, but targeted drone strikes are one of the preliminary options being considered, the statement said. Yet again, by the way, they might actually take do some drone strikes here and there, and pretend that they are actually doing something to protect Christians, but in reality, check, by the way, these terrorist groups that are operating in Nigeria included, if they have any connection with Al-Qaeda or ISIS or directly with the CIA. They do. They do. This is CIA operations, brother. These Christians being killed in Nigeria by terrorist groups that are linked to CIA, and CIA is orchestrating these killings of the Christians to destabilize the country, to create a ground for the US to act in a way that they do right now, and also to destabilize Nigeria. And same goes for every other country, brother. Terrorism is a Western invention, especially Islamic terrorism, by the way. It's a pure Western invention, right? Islam is around since 7th century, right? And this religion was never known to be extremely aggressive as Christianity was, for example, and still is, man. Come on, we kill more people than all the other religions combined. Like, we killed probably 10 times more, like 100 times more. Christians, I mean, are brutal, right? Let's face the reality. Thanks God, Eastern Christians are, I mean, we are, I mean, not as like Western Christians, man. Westerners, I mean, they kill everybody. They committed God knows how many genocides, man, right? Western Christianity, that is. Eastern Christianity cannot be accused of committing genocides. Let's be real on that. But nevertheless, we all are Christians, right? And there's no one going to distinguish, oh, these are Western Christians, this one Eastern. No. Other religious groups see us as Christians, all of us, right? And they do simple math, man, and they think, you know what, these guys are saying that we are this radical and that radical, while they killed like 100 times more people than all the other religious groups combined. So what the hell is going on here? And you tell me, dear friends, what is going on? Muslim world, by the way, was never known to be genocidal. Never. There was in history situations when some atrocities was committed, right? Clearly, there was such stories, no doubts about that. But nothing compared to what Christians did, man, right? And that's why I'm saying this radical Islamist terrorism, by the way, is a creation of a Western world. It's a creation of British Secret Services. It's a creation of US Secret Services, first of all. And they are actively using their proxy regimes all over the Middle East to be in charge of most of the terrorist groups. Most, right? Not just in the Middle East, but elsewhere too. That's what is happening, man. Right? And they have to be, you know, it is time, I think, that not just some commentators are talking about it, but this truth with the facts, right? With all the arguments have to be said by leadership of this world. That all this Islamist terrorist stuff is a creation mainly, by the way, and radicalization of the many people in the Muslim world is an operation led by Western countries, Western secret services. This is true. We all know this is true, right? Divide and conquer, man. That's what Western elites know perfectly well, and they have no breaks. They have no morality, no humanity, no dignity. They are capable of absolutely any atrocity. And I'm 100% convinced, by the way, CIA and MI6, they are orchestrating killings of the Christians through their proxy terrorist organizations, terrorist groups in Nigeria to destabilize country. And it's happening not just in Nigeria, but all over the Africa. All over the Africa, rather. That's it. Western elites are evil force, and we all have to recognize this, man. We all humanity have to acknowledge that Western world is an evil freaking force, and we have to fight this evil. All of us. So yes, Nigeria might be attacked, by the way, but drone strikes are not that scary for Nigeria. More scary is what CIA and MI6, what Western elites prepared for Nigeria in terms of full-scale destabilization. That's what is most dangerous, because once all the institutions, man, fail, no matter how good or bad they are working, but as long as there is some institutions, there is certain level of stability and safety, right? But if chaos erupts, if institutions are failing one after another, right, then it's a kill zone. Country straight away transforms into a kill zone, right? And that's what is most dangerous for Nigeria and all the other countries that's been targeted by Western elites. Meanwhile, you already know, dear friends, that Republicans face worst local election results since 2018. They've been, humiliated, basically. They lost everything everywhere in local elections that took place like day before yesterday, right? In many cases, it was expected, because New York, let's say, no one thought that Republican would win elections there, right, in New York. But there are some other places too that Republicans lose significantly level of support, right? And that is important. Well, midterm elections are coming, isn't it? Midterm elections are coming, and you know what? I think due to total failure of Trump's administration to deliver on their promises, to end these forever wars, by the way, to pull out US from this proxy war that West is waging against Russia, to deal with there's so many promises was made to prioritize America, by the way, not Israel, but America. Promise was not delivered there too, isn't it? Not just not delivered, but US bombed Iran for Israel, man. I mean, come on now, right? So I think very many Republicans are extremely disappointed in a system, in the Republican Party. They know perfectly well these freaking garbage elements cannot be trusted, right? They are America First people, and well, they are standing behind these conservatives like Tucker Carlson, for example, like many others, right? But they are Republicans lost their ground, many Republicans, because they don't know what to do, right? Everyone is freaking lying from leadership of Republican Party. Trump is liar, chronicle liar. They know this perfectly well now. Maybe they had some hopes that, you know what, this is a second term. He's not going to run for a certain, so therefore maybe he will be actually focused on America First stuff. No, it did not happen, right? And so I think during the midterm elections, Republicans are going to experience total humiliation, by the way. Republican Party going to experience total humiliation. They're going to lose both chambers of their Congress. They're going to lose majority in Senate. They're going to lose majority in the Congress. And you know what? Good, man. Good. That will force these disenfranchised parts of the Republican electorate and Democrat electorate to maybe somehow get together and support actual third party or to rebel, for God's sake, right? Because normal people on both sides cannot be happy with what is going on, right? Normal people on Republican, on the right aisle or the left aisle, they just cannot be happy, either with their parties or with the state of political system, state of state institutions, government in general, society, economy in the country. They cannot be okay with anything, really. And hopefully they will get together and act on, in certain ways that will hopefully bring to power America First people. And I think normal people from both aisles, by the way, Democrats and Republicans, normal ones, They all are America first, supposed to be, right? Because they are American citizens. Of course, they should prioritize America first and foremost, and citizens of US and their interests. It's why this like basic stuff should be controversial. It's not, right? So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy, by the way, total crush of these freaking traitors of America First movement in the US that Republican Party is right now. They are freaking traitors and should be treated by Americans as such, as a traitors, right? Meanwhile, and dear friends, in case you don't hear until now, in New York, that makes most of the noise, Mamdani won the elections. This democratic socialist, as he is calling himself. Republicans calling him a communist, but I don't think he is a communist, by the way. I don't think any Republican knows anything about communists, right? They call everybody communist that they don't like. Communists, or I don't know, God knows what. They are calling, they have two slurs that they use quite often to kind of bully people, intimidate people. Either they call them communists or they call them anti-Semites. Yeah, anti-Semites. You are anti-Semite. They call everybody, by the way, who said America first, not Israel. They call all of them to be anti-Semites, man. Why those people are anti-Semites, and why anti-Semitism, in understanding of this sickening scum of humanity that Western elites are, US elites included, why anti-Semitism means Jew hatred, or hatred of the Jewish people only. Semites are people that speak Semite languages, right? And Hebrew is part of not only Semite language, but part of a wider language family. And the Arabs, by the way, all Arabs are Semites, right? They are Semites. So, but I mean, this is too complicated for those morons, by the way, that are in charge of Western world, isn't it? They have no freaking idea what language group is, and why certain groups being called the Indo-Europeans, certain groups this, certain groups that. It's just too complicated for them, right? Anyways, government shutdown continues in US, and well, now officials are saying that air traffic might stop. Air traffic in US might actually stop because air traffic controllers are in no position to tolerate absence of paychecks. And you know what? Who can blame them? And I mean, one paycheck, okay, two paycheck, that's the issue, right? If you are not a billionaire, if you are a billionaire or millionaire or very wealthy, you don't work as a traffic controller, right? You are working as a traffic controller because you live from paycheck to paycheck, actually. You missed one, that's bad. Missed two, very bad. I mean, third, fourth, you can barely anybody can afford that, man, to work for free, right? So therefore, I think it's a possibility if these cycles among Republicans and Democrats did not stop messing around and did not stop the shutdown, US actually might face some significant, very significant issues, right? In immediate future. Although US President Donald Trump believes that ongoing government shutdown is not harming the economy of the country, which is crazy stuff to do, crazy stuff to say, but that's his quote. We are so strong now that I don't think anything can hurt us. Trump said at the business forum in Miami however, acknowledging that it would be not a bad idea to open the government to take care of people who don't have jobs and who don't get paid. It's not just people that don't have a job and or don't get paid. It's 42 million people that are on food stamps. It's 42 million people that have a food on a table based on the programs, right? Social programs that is no longer financed right now. 42 million people in America, by the way, receive aid, humanitarian aid, food as a humanitarian aid, right? It's crazy what's happening there. And Trump is talking about this stuff. It's not big deal. I mean, it would be a good idea. You are a freaking president of country, man. What are you talking about? It's your citizens, 42 million of them, right? That cannot have a food now and might struggle to actually put some food on a table. What is wrong with these people, man, right? Nothing to be said about million government employees that have no paychecks. For how long now? And when it comes to economy, Trump is lying there too. I mean, of course, all this stuff is harmful for economy. And even representatives of Trump's team are acknowledging that every week of government shutdown costs economy at least 0.1% of GDP. At least 0.1% of GDP. So 10 weeks will pass soon, and that will be 1% of GDP. And US economy allegedly is some $30 trillion. So you made the math. So it hurts, man. It hurts US economy too. How else, man? This government shutdown. But I don't know. Democrats and Republicans are playing some freaking games there. They're not gonna suffer. They don't care, man. They are freaking millionaires, right? Do it through their salaries, do it through inside trade that they do on both sides, right? They are filthy rich. They don't care and never will. But ordinary Americans, they do care, man. It's there that are facing issues. Anyways, as I said, dear friends, U.S. president is on a spree of attacking just about everybody, left and right, and he's attacking South Africa again. He said that South Africa should not even be in a G20, in a G's, he said. Oh, okay. And he also said that what happened there is bad and that kind of stuff, and he announced that he's not going on a G20 summit to South Africa. Okay, too bad. I don't think anybody really wanted to see this narcissist, by the way, that will try to take on himself all the media attention and steal their actual relevant discussions, attention from relevant discussions and meetings. So therefore, okay, stay in your golf course, Trump. You are not needed anywhere, really. RIA Novosti is also reporting that PAX-2 nuclear power plant project in Hungary has received their construction approval, which is good news, of course. On November 4, 2025, the Hungarian Atomic Energy Authority issued the permits allowing their pouring the first concrete for their foundation of Unit 5 of a PAX nuclear power plant. General designer and the general constructor is the engineering division of the Rosatom State Corporation, as well as the construction of the nuclear island buildings, the publication said. And well, good news, man. Good news for Hungary. Good news for Russian Rosatom that will build this PAX-2 power plant, if, of course, Brussels will not get involved and will not crash this construction. They might, man. They might sanction Hungary even, right? Or threaten with sanctions if Budapest will not cancel this contract. So anything is possible. But for now, seems like project was green-lighted 100%, and construction quite effectively has has begun. And there is another nuclear power plant, by the way, in Hungary that is operational, and Russia is a main partner of Hungarian side there too. It's Russia that provides nuclear fuel and maintenance works, everything, by the way, to make sure that power plant is working okay. And the same will be with this one if it's completed. Meanwhile, interesting statement from NVIDIA's CEO. NVIDIA is a highest company with the highest value. It just reached a few days ago like $5 trillion, right? $4 or $5 trillion. Insane number. It's inflated, obviously inflated, by the way. It's a bubble that will burst at some point. But he said that China is going to win AI race. NVIDIA's CEO. So Jensen Huang cites fewer regulations and lower energy cost for why China is going to surpass America when it comes to AI. Huang told the Financial Times the US and the rest of the West are failing behind because of cynicism. Okay, whatever he meant by cynicism, but when it comes to energy, he is on point there. And if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I actually commented on the issue of this AI war, isn't it, between US and China, and I said US will lose. And one of the reasons why I said it was energy. I said that US would not be able to compete with China because of energy. Not just price of energy, not just price difference in energy, but also absence of energy. To stay relevant in AI race, the US has to double generation of its electricity in next 10 years. Double. Do you think US is in a position to double or triple energy generation in next decade? No, it's not happening. It's not happening. US barely, not barely can build it. It cannot even build a bridge, for God's sake, right? When last time you hear about any engineering marvel that was created in the US? US is in decline, man, in serious decline. So there is no way they're going to be able to double energy output in next 10 years, and therefore they're going to lose this AI war. China will win it, for sure. Russia has good chances to be not just independent in AI technologies, but and we do have quite significant achievements in AI developments. Digitization of many things here in Russia is already fact, by the way, factual, right? And AI is already something that we are communicating on daily basis, right? So Russia has good chances too, because if we have anything here in Russia, it's a lot of energy and capabilities to generate more energy, and a lot of places where we can put these data centers, right? And places, by the way, that naturally support building data centers there. Вечная мерзлота, by the way. How is in English, Вечная мерзлота? You know what? Let me. In Far Eastern and northern Russian regions, by the way, of course, there is this Вечная мерзлота, which means ground is solid ice, right? For meters and meters on end, by the way. That's why there is a specific technology is used to build anything in those areas, right? And can you imagine if you put data centers in those cold areas? That will give you significant economy on the cooling, right? And cooling is an issue when it comes to a big issue when it comes to these data centers too, by the way. You need not just energy, but you have to cool down these data centers, because so much heat is generated with this all video cards or whatever is used, by the way, to in these data centers. Permafrost, yes, that's it, permafrost, by the way, right? So Russia has also good chances, I think. And so yes, we're gonna lead, man. We're gonna lead the charge. US gonna be somewhere there, I guess. I think US companies, IT companies, will go to Alaska, try at least. But yet again, you need their energy, right? There is no energy infrastructure on Alaska right now. It's a cold region, yes, but there is no energy infrastructure enough to support these massive data centers, right? So it will take freaking decades before US will be able to double its energy output. AIs are demanding more and more energy, isn't it? Constantly. This is just constant struggle. And generally speaking, I'm not even sure that humanity in general can win this race for more energy to keep up with demand of AIs, right? Because they need more and more and more and more and more, and eventually most of the energy that humanity generates will go for this AI stuff. Anyways, that's a whole different story. Let's end this live stream, dear friends, or new segment of it, on this report that Russia-China trade almost 100% outside Western currencies, according to Finance Minister. So Russia and China have essentially eliminated the use of Western currencies in trade, with their almost all payments now carried out in rubles and yuans. Russian Finance Minister Anton Silvanov stated on Tuesday, according to Silvanov, 99.1% of settlements between the two countries, 99.1%, by the way, of settlements between two countries now take place in their own currencies. He added that this enables Russia and China to avoid unfriendly foreign infrastructure linked to the dollar and euro-based banking systems, which is a right way to go forward. Obviously, will be even better if BRICS countries finally will come up with alternative financial and the banking system that will benefit whole of humanity, everybody from east, west, north, south, everybody. We just need it, right? We cannot trust Western financial and banking system. In case of Russian citizens, we cannot even use it. So therefore, give us alternative, man. Build it. BRICS is well capable of doing it, right? And they will probably, BRICS member states. And also, this is one of the reasons why Russian economical bloc of government is struggling, by the way, I think, to weaken the ruble. Because demand is too strong. Demand on Russian ruble is just too freaking strong, right? And it's not just and because Russian ruble is quite strong, by the way. This is an issue for exporter companies, and Russia is a country that exports a lot, much more than imports, right? And this is a strong ruble is also issue for a federal budget. It's an issue for federal budget, by the way. If ruble was if exchange rate for ruble and dollar, let's say, was 120, 130 rubles for $1, I don't think inflation will skyrocket. I really don't think so. Economical bloc has enough tools to keep businesses in line, right? Because they already increased prices when exchange rate was 110 rubles for a dollar. And they did not drop their prices when ruble becomes significantly stronger. Now it's like 80 rubles for a dollar or something, right? But just imagine if Russia has now trillion rubles deficit, around that, right, in federal budget, which is going to be financed through either through reserves or whatever. So it's not a big issue, not a massive issue, but it's still an issue, by the way. It's better when you don't have a deficit, right? And there would be no deficit if exchange rate was 110, 120 rubles, let's say, for a dollar. And budget would be budget will have deficit, by the way, when there is more income than there's the spendings, right? If exchange rate was 140 to 150, let's say 130, 140, up to 150 for a dollar. But because of this crazy high demand on Russian rubles by foreigners, not just by inside users of the currency, private citizens, businesses, and so on, but because of the high demand on ruble from outside, by the way, because Russia trades almost everything in rubles now, currency is getting stronger and stronger. And this is bad, man. This is not good. Economy did not like this. Export companies don't like this, and they pay huge volume of taxes, by the way, right? So we need those companies to be happy. It's also factual, right? So yes, we are facing this trouble now with a strong ruble, and I'm 100% convinced, by the way, if exchange rate was 110 rubles for a dollar, inflation would not rise. Government is in a position to tell all those freaking businesses that they already increased the prices. And if anyone dares to speculate now to make more money, they will face some consequences for that. Government have to intervene when it's necessary. And they can if they want to, but yet again, I mean, they are struggling to weaken the ruble, man. But information is correct. Process of de-dollarization is clearly unstoppable, man. 99.1% of trade between Russia and China is done in rubles and yuans. And China is the biggest trade partner for Russia. Last year, trade was 300 billion plus. I know compared to China-US trade, 300 billion might look like no big deal, but I mean, in reality, it's quite a big money, man. 300 billion trade just between Russia and China. This year might be similar number, 300 billion, somewhere around there. Hopefully, next year we will reach eventually like 400 or 500 billion potentially. That will be good, right? But yeah, trade is in national currencies almost completely. And well, on that quite interesting news, dear friends, I will end a live stream, news segment, dear friends. I'm not going to end live stream yet because there was and by the way, there was a question from a member of community. There was a super chat on Rumble, and let me highlight, if I may, this super chat. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and $5 donation. And the question is, why not leave a stream on our Patreon too? It can apparently be done outside paywall. What? To do live stream simultaneously on Patreon too. Yeah, I know. I saw the notification that I can do live streams on Patreon too now. And I was thinking, what can I do? Thank you very much, Scooby, for your question, for your super chat and the question. If you mean I can post a video itself on a Patreon just outside of their paywall, so that it will be accessible for all the subscribers, free subscribers that are 3 times more than actual Patreons. Well, why not, really? Why not, really? It can be done, and I guess free subscribers are members of our bigger community. They probably watch us right now on YouTube or Rumble, but I can do it. I can make a video from live stream to be accessible for all subscribers. And when I do some exclusive content, that will be behind the paywalls, or only Patreons will be able to access that. So okay, I mean, and also recently Patreon come up with this new feature that I can stream there. Everybody can stream on Patreon too, and I'm gonna find out. Maybe I can stream simultaneously on Patreon, Rumble, and YouTube. If I can, I'll do it. Why not? Thank you very much, Scooby, for feedback, for idea. I appreciate your support. So this is it, dear friends. There was no more super chats on Rumble. If you like the video, please click that like button, leave some commentary. If you like my work in general and want to support, you can do it through several means. There is links to my to PayPal platform, Boosty. There is crypto option that you can use to donate to this project. And so, yes, this is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.